article today by Arash Markazi of the LA Times might just be part of the discussion at the Board of Governors meetings, because listen to this. Doc Rivers basically giving a full play-by-play to our friend Arash on how the Clippers landed Kawhi in PG-13. Here is Doc describing their pitch meeting with Kawhi. He says that Leonard said, quote, "I want to play for you," and Doc says he pointed at me. Then he said, "Mr. Ballmer, I love the things you do and what you stand for, but your team is not good enough, and if you don't change your team, I'm not coming," which is amazing.
Awesome.
Doc then goes on to say, "We actually had a list of guys," which was a mistake. You can just hear Doc's words, right, when you his voice, "but we got lucky. We shouldn't have had a list because then he got to choose who he wanted to play with, and the assumption was that we could go out and get them. We didn't know if we could go get anybody. We just showed him guys that we thought would match him, and when he saw Paul George's name, he said, 'I want to play with him.' We showed him everyone else, and he didn't want to hear it. He just stayed on Paul George. So after the meeting, we sat down and said, we got to go get Paul George. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we have to do it." He continued and said, "We did know that Oklahoma City wanted to break their team up."
There we go. There it is.
So that helped.
There it is.
All right, a lot to digest there, Dave, but let's start with that sneaky little revelation about OKC, which, by the way, you look at these Board of Governors meetings and they're like, oh, we got to tamp down on player-to-player contact. He's saying we already knew that Oklahoma City wanted to break their team up anyway.
Right, and
we had a list of guys.
That's a huge revelation if it's true, because all of the reporting that we've had is that Sam Presti and company was committed to running it back one last time.
One more first-round exit. It was like, we just want one more first-round exit before we know that this is. And no one's going to. And this is the thing. We have all of this stuff going on where we're talking about. No one wants to blame Dame Lillard. No one wants to be like, damn it, Dame. Like, if you don't hit this, one of the most amazing shots in NBA history, and you wave bye.
We had Damian Lillard on the jump during Summer League, and I did say, I hope you understand that on your list of accomplishments, breaking up the Oklahoma City Thunder is now firmly on your Wikipedia page. And
there you go.
He demurred, as you'd expect.
But I think that's the key. That's the keyest thing. He was like, the only reason why the Clippers believed that they could go get Paul George and why he was on that list is because there's insider stuff. They know that Oklahoma City is open to blowing up their team. You have two of the top 10 players in the league, and you can't get out of the first round, and it doesn't look that pretty. They lost to a short-handed Portland Trailblazer team. And so in that space, they're like, okay, we need to change it up. And if that's one of those things, if we can go get them and we can give Oklahoma City assets that they can start rebuilding their franchise, then yeah, we can go get Paul George. But they're not just like, hey, I want to play with LeBron James. Okay, let's call the Lakers. No, he put out a list. Or he said a player that they believe that they could go get because he was on the market and it was proven so.
So interesting. Doc also talked about how he convinced Clippers owner Steve Ballmer to unload all those picks. He said Steve was nervous about the picks. I said, Steve, you keep saying 6 picks for Paul George is insane, but you're saying it wrong. It's not 6 for Paul, it's 6 for Paul and Kawhi. So 3 for each. I would do that. And look, that's what we kept saying once the trade went down, right? Do you think there's any chance, Richard, that Ballmer does end up regretting that deal?
No, I think there's zero chance, especially with the way that what happened with the Warriors. You had an injury to Klay Thompson. You have Kevin Durant going to the Eastern Conference. So now there is a level playing field across the NBA, and everyone has. This is what the Clippers wanted. They didn't necessarily want the glitz and the glamour. They wanted 2 hardworking. That's always been their message. We don't want to be LA. We don't want to be the Lakers. Mm-hmm. We want to be more of a kind of a Detroit Pistons, Pittsburgh Steelers type franchise. We're the working man's team. We're the show up every day and bring that message to our fans. And so these 2 players fit exactly what they're looking to do. So yeah, 3 picks for both of 2 of the top, 7 players, possibly, a top 3 player in Kawhi, Finals MVP. I'm not going to cuss, but you could give up a lot more than that.
I mean, it's the first time in league history a team has acquired a Finals MVP in the summer immediately that he had just won it for another franchise. So that's unprecedented, and so it would take an unprecedented haul. And you stockpile assets in order to improve your team when it has a championship window. That's what it's all about. Cleveland did it. David Griffin traded 2 first-round picks for Team FA Moscow. On its face, that sounds like a lot. But also involved in those deals, he got Iman Shumpert, he got J.R. Smith. He moved the team in the right direction that it needed to go in. And guess what? They traded away another first-round pick in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Right.
But guess what? You do it because this is the time you strike. And I think the only regret would be not doing it.
Right. I mean, and look, different different players mean different things to different teams at different times, which is a lot of the word different, but it's actually true, right? So the Lakers gave up a lot for Anthony Davis. But Anthony Davis was worth more to the Lakers than he was to almost any other team because the Lakers have an aging LeBron James who, if they don't take advantage of that right now in his best remaining years, that investment they've already made in LeBron won't pay off as much. To the Clippers, who are trying to even up their presence in Los Angeles, and yes, the chance to get Kawhi Leonard, Paul George meant more to them than it would have been to most of the other teams around the league. I thought the other interesting, there's so much good stuff in Arash's article. I suggest you go find it on the LA Times website. One of the other interesting things is Doc is detailing how the deal was off at noon, on again at 3, off again at 4, back on at 5, back off again. He walks into dinner and they're sort of like, no, get to a place with better cell reception, like all of that stuff. And that he said that the fear of Kawhi going to the Lakers was the most present thing to everyone in the Clippers, that everything they had worked for and built over these past few years, if the Lakers had gotten Kawhi Leonard with AD and LeBron James, he told Steve Ballmer, you might as well move the team back to Seattle if that happens.
And look at what happened in New York, right? There was nothing but Nick talk all year for the #1 pick. We're going to get KD, we're going to get Kyrie. And the worst case scenario, literally the worst case scenario is for them to not to get the #1 pick, and for the two of the biggest free agents to go to Brooklyn, right? And it's the same thing. The worst case scenario for the Clippers was to lose out on those free agents and end up having Kawhi in with the Lakers. So it happens all across. Like, that worst case scenario is real. It happened in New York. It didn't happen in LA.
You almost said New Jersey instead of Brooklyn.
I was so close to saying New Jersey.
It's a long time, right? It was across the chest for a long time.
Yeah. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For highlights and analysis, check out the ESPN app. And for live streaming and premium content, check out ESPN+.